What a headshot! What a head!
How's it, guys? This is Dayvy, FPL, and welcome back to the Fantasy Premier League video here on my channel. In this video, I'll be taking you through the ultimate guide to the upcoming Game Week 4. So if you guys have been enjoying this international break, it is the first one of the season, and therefore I think it's a little bit more annoying. But don't worry, we're still going to have some FPL action coming up shortly, and that's why you guys are watching this video. So get ready to talk about everything Game Week 4 related. Now, if you guys are new to these ultimate guides, the usual talking points include projected clean sheets and predicted goals. And then we're going to wrap it up with captaincy, but before that, talking about all those Ismaila Sarr replacements. So I don't know about you guys, but I know Sarr has a healthy ownership. I just brought him in last week, and now he's injured. As of recording this video though, we don't exactly know the extent, but there has been some rumors of about 4 to 6 weeks. So definitely wait and see for what the press conference does hold for us, but let's look at some replacements for the time being. So if you guys are interested in any of those talking points, sit back, relax, and let's get straight into it. Now before we get into the actual clean sheet predictions, I just want to clarify something. I'm actually traveling the last week of the international break, and therefore the odds that you guys see on screen and the talking points might change slightly, but I'm not expecting too much change. So let's just get straight into these clean sheet percentages, and as you guys can see, there are a couple of very good fixtures. We have a tie for first with Liverpool as well as Arsenal. So really not what I want to see when I do own Chris Wood against this Arsenal team. Basically means the chance of scoring is going to be super low. But definitely the fixture to target if you guys are going to be going for one is Liverpool versus Burnley. And that's why I'm pretty jealous if you guys already have a Virgil van Dijk in place. Don't worry though, if you guys do have some Newcastle defenders or some Crystal Palace ones, they just have a slight drop off to 42%. So I've seen a ton of planned transfers for someone like a Munoz, even a Lacroix from Crystal Palace. That's a solid move, especially with Gay now staying back at the club. Now it will be interesting to see if we do get some clarification of that Wharton injury, as if he's going to be out for a few weeks, I wonder if the odd is going to change. I guess you Anderson owners also looking at that Fulham game at 36%, pretty decent overall percentage. I always say this when you do look at these clean sheet odds, but you can definitely pick out which game is going to be more exciting, and that's probably that Bournemouth-Brighton game. Unfortunately, on the other end of the spectrum is going to be Everton-Aston Villa, as both teams have a pretty high percentage for clean sheets. Not what I want to see as an Ollie Watkins and Rodgers owner. Now currently I'm actually starting Murillo from Nottingham Forest, and at 12% the chance of a clean sheet is really not there, and therefore could a transfer out actually be likely this week from -4, as you guys know that hit will be paid off with the clean sheet. This does add a bit more complexity with the addition of DEFCON contributions, as just because Murillo doesn't get any kind of clean sheet points doesn't mean it's going to be a blank. The one fixture I also want to kind of point out is going to be that last Manchester derby, 31% pretty decent for Man City if you guys do own one of their defenders. I'm just hoping that Chelsea at 33% Sanchez can keep another clean sheet. I don't know if we're going to get that goal ruled off by VAR this time though, we might not be that lucky. I know the majority of us also starting Pedro Porro, so I just want to shout out he's 28%, not the most high kind of percentage, but still decent when you do consider hopefully his attacking threat. You guys can pause the screen if you want to, but I think we've covered the majority of teams here. Now let's move on to the projected goals. So I generally say these are the more exciting stat out of the two. Most people just prefer the attack to the defense, and there's going to be some pretty high scoring games projected. Now the top team as mentioned is going to be Liverpool. That Burnley game should be targeted 2.45, and that kind of makes Salah the default captain. If you guys do want to go a little bit more differential, Newcastle at 2.15 is quite surprising, but Arsenal also have some good projections if you guys have a Gyökeres. I do think though with these projections Gyökeres does become more of an option. I mean, if Arsenal against these tougher defenses are going to have better projections, you could just bring him in now for the long term. Man City though, if you have Erling Haaland, also some pretty high projections. Manchester derbies though, they're quite hard to predict. And then Chelsea annoyingly, if you guys own João Pedro at 1.90. Now as mentioned, we do have our more exciting games such as a Bournemouth-Brighton and our more boring ones Everton-Aston Villa. Crystal Palace have some good projections though if you guys have Mateta at 1.8. It does seem like this week actually is going to be a pretty high scoring week. The fixtures, the matchups do look pretty strong. It's just kind of deciding who's going to score the most points for your captain. With that Crystal Palace projection, it'll also be interesting to see how it adjusts throughout the week. once we get confirmation of that Sarr injury. They've just lost Eze to a transfer, and now without Ismaila Sarr, how's that Crystal Palace attack going to adjust? But you guys let me know in the comments down below which game or which team do you think scores the most goals. I'm going to back my team Liverpool, and let's just hope Salah returns. Now probably the biggest talking point for my own team is going to be Ismaila Sarr replacements for Game Week 4, so I guess you guys can skip ahead, but we're still going to talk about some midfielders to target. Now the most annoying factor about this Ismaila Sarr injury, obviously we hope that he gets better in a quick time, but it looks like he's definitely going to be missing Sunderland and West Ham. Yes, we brought him in for the more medium term, but those two fixtures coming up are simply gold. So for him to miss that and maybe come back for Liverpool will be quite annoying. So that's why at the moment I'm waiting for some concrete information, but it seems like he will be a transfer out. So let's go over some replacements. Now I'm not going to talk about too many stats in this ultimate guide, and the main reason for that is the sample size has been so small. We can't use the stats for big decisions over the opening 3 weeks. Now yes, we can use it as a guidance, but I wouldn't be just going for the player with the super high XG, but he might not even be nailed. So let's just talk about fixtures and general play. Now my first player and a recommendation, if you guys can afford him, I would just bring in Semenyo. I personally can't, I'm 0.2 off, which is even more annoying. But if you guys can afford him, it's just the like-for-like switch. I think some people might even argue that this is an upgrade over Ismaila Sarr, and the Bournemouth fixtures don't actually look that bad. So once again, if you guys can afford Semenyo, I would just go there. He's a quality player, but if you like myself, I can't afford him. So let's go over 3 replacements. Now I first want to say I did cover kind of the Everton assets, Grealish, Ndiaye and KDH in my transfer plan, and since I was leaning more towards another player, I've decided to exclude them. But that's basically what you guys have to know about these Sarr replacements, is there's no kind of standard option. They're all pretty average, which makes the decision even harder. So some names I'm going to throw out there, obviously the Everton assets. I do also like Declan Rice if you guys do want to go there. He just hasn't been super consistent on the attacking threat, and then also those DevCon bonus points. I was expecting him to be a bit higher on those DevCon contributions, and that hasn't been the case. So that's why I haven't really included him here, as I don't exactly know what that dual threat's going to be like. So the first option I want to talk about is going to be Jorginho Ruta from Brighton. Now I know you guys might be thinking, why have I selected an option with I think about 90 minutes over the opening 3 games? Well, this is purely an analytics pick. So the models absolutely love Jorginho at 5.9 million. So if you guys are kind of basing your team more analytically, he could be your option of choice. Now you guys might be worried about those expected minutes, but don't worry, Brighton have sold a few midfielders, and most people are saying that he should be nailed for the upcoming fixtures. The fixtures are a little bit on the hit or miss side here though, and that's why personally, even though the models are saying that he's the best selection, it's a wait and see for me, as I'm still a little bit worried about those expected minutes. So let's go on to my 2 other replacements. I guess these are picked by myself, not the models, and I spoke about him in the updated transfer plan. It's going to be Paqueta. Now we're almost going to be calling him a Temu Bruno Fernandes potentially, or a Wish Bruno Fernandes, because even though he comes in a bit cheaper, definitely isn't as good of an asset. Now the reason we're comparing him to Bruno is the fact that he could get those DevCon bonus points and he is on penalties, but obviously West Ham aren't a great team at the moment. I do always like though, with these kind of DevCon additions, having a player that can have a few avenues for points, and he does have some attacking threat. Now if you guys are going to be going from, don't go and look at the XG or XA, as it's not fantastic, and he did score a wonder goal against Chelsea in Game Week 2. Now with the fixtures, they're not the best, but they're not the worst, but I guess with Paqueta at his cheaper price tag, you can just play him. Even if it's a tougher fixture, might get those DevCon points. So Paqueta at the moment is probably my favorite replacement out of these selections. As mentioned though, there's not really much between them. Now the final player I wanted to go over was going to be Enzo Fernandez from Chelsea, but if you guys want to go for a cheaper option, Caicedo is also racking up those defensive contributions. With Enzo, he hasn't been racking up those DevCon bonus points as well as Caicedo, but does offer more attacking threat going forward. Now if you guys do think that Enzo will be on penalties, you might have to think otherwise. Cole Palmer was missing and João Pedro is in the mix, so we don't have full clarity on who's the second penalty taker. The Chelsea fixtures though don't look that bad, and he has had a great start to the season. So I guess if you guys do want to go for a slightly more out there player, I mean Chelsea are a quality team, they've started the season well. Any player that's going to be playing the majority of minutes in that team has the potential for points. So whether it's Enzo, whether it's Caicedo, you guys can go there if you want. But as mentioned, I'm leaning a little bit more towards West Ham's Paqueta. But there are a ton of replacements. Unfortunately, they're not great though, and therefore you guys might actually be going differential here. Let me know your star replacement if you are transferring him out in the comments down below. Now the next talking point is just going to be a quick one. I've seen a lot of comments over on Twitter and my Discord server about Isaac, so I'm going to give you guys my opinion right here. Now I'm recording this after the first Sweden international game, and Isaac got 0 minutes. I do feel like in the second game though, he might be subbed on a little bit late into the fixture, and that's why for me he doesn't start Burnley at all. If you guys have been watching Liverpool, you'll notice that Ekitike kind of makes it to the 70-minute mark and then gets subbed off. And that's exactly what's going to happen with Isaac for the opening few weeks. So if you guys do own Ekitike, don't take him out. I think he starts Burnley as well as Everton, with Isaac coming off the bench for maybe the last 20 minutes. I just wanted to clarify here because I know he's a new shiny toy potentially, definitely plays for a good team, but it's a wait and see, and I'm sure he's going to be in the starting 11 relatively shortly. Now the last talking point as always is going to be the Camsey debate, and for me this week there's one man for the job, and that's going to be Salah, or Ekitike Gakpo if you guys don't own him. That Burnley fixture is just too hard to ignore, and the models do agree as he has the highest projected goals, beating Haaland by about 1.3. Now I would rate Haaland as my second favorite option. Man City have started well even though they haven't got the points, and Haaland's just a constant threat with that high XG. Now the only problem, those Manchester derbies are quite hard to call, but you guys have seen United play. I think pretty comfortably Man City are the favourites here. Now if you guys do want to go differential, there are a few options. I would have put Cole Palmer here, but we don't have clarity on that injury situation, so I'm going to go for Mateta. You guys could also go for a Gyökeres, but I just don't know about Nottingham Forest. They could keep it quite tight. There's also concerns though with Mateta if Sarr is out injured. That's why I kind of feel like whichever premium you guys own, whether it be Salah, whether it be Haaland, if you guys do own both, that's quite a debate. But I would just captain whichever premium you guys own. I guess you can go super differential, but the fixtures aren't that standout and there are some question marks around the team. But let me know in the comments down below if you guys are going different. While you're there, you can also let me know any other talking points you want me to cover, but as mentioned, I'm traveling this week, so reach out to me on my Discord or my Twitter page. Both links in the description. Let's hope that Game Week 4 is an absolute banger. This is basically a wrap for the video, guys. Hope you guys did enjoy it. Please don't like if you didn't subscribe if you have subscribed yet. Team selection coming up in a few days' time, so make sure the notifications are turned on for that one. But for the time being, I'm signing off. It's been Dayvy FPL, and I'm out. Cheers, bye.